This is Doug with the Practicing Accountant Podcast. Thank you for joining us for this episode. Very excited about this one. We're going to be talking about a tool that when I was in public practice, I wasn't aware of this, and it took a project manager to introduce me to it. It's called the RACI Matrix, and I found it to be an essential and key component as you try to build succession and leverage and delegation, and it's a great way to communicate expectations and hold accountability. We hope you enjoy this episode.
So I'm going to share something. So I'm just going to jump out right out of the gates with a tool. And some of those listening may have heard of it before, and some of you haven't. I only heard of that because I was working with the project manager and on whatever I was working with him on and having a conversation. And he mentioned to me something called the RACI Matrix, RACI Matrix. And I hadn't heard about it before, and I kind of nodded and pretended like I knew what he was talking about. And as soon as the conversation was over, I went to Wikipedia and I started doing my little research on what exactly the RACI Matrix is.
Right.
And what it is, it's really a communication and an expectations and a project management tool. And the RACI is an acronym. The R is for responsible, the A is for accountable, the C is for consulted, and the I is for informed. And so for anything that you do in your business, you should be falling intentionally into one of those categories. Now, when you're a sole proprietor, there's really no one to share those responsibilities with. So it's you're responsible and you're accountable and you're consulting with yourself or with the network and really just informing yourself when something is done. But if you have staff or if you leverage other professionals to help you in your business, this tool is important. So let me back up. I'll hit pause for a second. So in my work with folks in industry, there's a problem that is surfacing right now that I feel is going to be a bigger one in the years to come. And that problem is we have a certain generation of leadership, or call it like maybe older, more mature, more experienced professionals who aren't retiring. They still have 10, 15 years left before they retire, but they are experienced in understanding how things work. And they're wanting to do more of something, like they're wanting to do more leadership, they're wanting to do more sales, they're wanting to do more firm management or working on the business. They're wanting to do things besides just face clients.
Mm-hmm.
But they can't. Here's why. Because they've spent the last 20 or 30 years serving clients, and the entire ecosystem is built on them serving clients. And so if they try to remove themselves from that and place that responsibility on someone younger, like a successor, or just someone they've added to help and support, they're finding they continue to get dragged back down into the client facing. Oh, the client has a question, they only want to ask you. Or the email came in and he sent it directly to me, so I have to get involved again. Or I'm the only one with that answer. Or I'm the only one who's been around this client so long, I only know everything that's gone on since they've been a client. And they continually get dragged back down into the client-facing muck. And they can't become what they're trying to explore being, that leader or that firm management or whatever it might be, rainmaker. And so that problem is pervasive. And I'm bumping into it. I mean, I bumped into it 3 times, let's say, over the last week. And I can point at, I don't know how many times before that, but I continue hearing this theme. Like I can't let go of work. I can't give this away. I have to stay involved. And I think that's a big problem. And this RACI matrix is an important aspect of being able to change that. Let me step back and let's go back to our sports for a second. So in any sporting event, you have the players that are on the field or on the court playing the game. You have the coaches who are on the sidelines who are sending in plays and giving instruction and managing the game. Then you have spectators who just sit in the stands or and watch and cheer and really have nothing to do with the outcome of the game other than the support they lend to it. That's what a RACI matrix does. It determines which of those positions you have. Are you a player on the field, which means you're responsible, you're doing the work? Or are you accountable, which means you're a coach, You're someone who has to make sure the game gets played, but you yourself aren't playing it. Are you being consulted with? That is the depth of coaches that you have. It's not just a head coach. You've got a head coach, you've got an offense coach, defense coach, linebackers coach, whatever coach. There's lots of coaches. Those are all folks to consult with. And then you've got informed, which is the spectators, the ones that are just watching. They get informed of how the game is going. And sometimes they only watch it on TV later to find out what happens. Sometimes they're there in person to witness it, but they have no real involvement in what's being done. They're just watching.
Mm.
So what's happening in public accounting, from my limited perspective, the people that want to become coaches, or the CPAs that want to actually get to the stands to watch this, aren't. They're still playing in the field. They're still playing with clients. They're still dealing with billing. They're still dealing with engagement management. They're still dealing with payroll. They're still dealing with things that they no longer want to play in. But because they didn't have a tool like a RACI Matrix, or because they didn't have intention to really delegate ownership and responsibility, or leverage people to take that responsibility, they're stuck. They're stuck. And that sucks. And I don't like it. I don't like to change. And so, one of the things I'm coaching on lately is on the RACI Matrix, which again came from outside of accounting. It did not come from an accountant. It came from a project manager. And that's why I'm having conversations across the country about what the RACI Matrix is right now, because they're uninformed. They've not heard of this concept before. They haven't used it before. Maybe they did at one point, or they heard about it, and then they're like, oh yeah, that sounds great. Then they put it into a desk or buried it in a folder on their hard drive. They're not using it, but there has to be intention to move yourself from the responsible position where you are doing the client work into the accountable position where someone else is doing it and you're just making sure it's getting done. And then ultimately step out completely where someone else is accountable, someone else is responsible, and you're just there to be consulted with. I can help if you have questions. If there's a problem, come let me know. And then ultimately to that informed, which is, we got it done. Great. Good job. Thanks for letting me know. And then ultimately out of it altogether, where they're no longer even a part of the project or the client. Like, they got it done. They don't even know that it got done. They weren't responsible for it. They weren't involved in the PVC or client communications or pricing. They weren't involved. The spectator.
This is Doug here to interrupt this episode to let you know about something that we offer very special. It's a membership to the Practicing Accountant. In membership, you're going to get an opportunity to work with your peers in group coaching to learn certain and specific skills necessary to be successful in accounting, like how to fire clients, how to work less, how to charge more, how to get more clients, all the basic essentials you need as an accountant. Visit us at thepracticingaccountant.com, where you can learn more about what we do. And I hope to see you in a group coaching session that I'll be facilitating. And also, if you sign up soon, you're going to have a chance to work with me specifically, complimentary session with the CPA coach. And please check us out again at www.thepracticingaccountant.com. Back to our episode.
So typically, I think a CPA would look at this problem as, how do I solve this with CPAs? How do I solve this with the crew that I have? And I don't think that's the only way to look at it. I think you can look at it from a perspective of, what is it that I can delegate certain responsibilities for, like client communication, like client onboarding, like project management, engagement management, like service, like surveying. There's a lot of things that a CPA does and takes responsibility for that they shouldn't. They're not the expert at it. I mean, maybe they're good at it, or maybe they just presume there's no one else to do it, so I should do it. But they should be passing it around. You and I just talked about this before the call started. Right. Video editing. Is that something you and I should be doing? Mostly you?
Probably not.
No, probably not. I mean, we're not in a position right now to hire the world to get it done. So we're doing the best we can with really your effort. Now, the goal, though, is to bring on an expert, someone who can really take responsibility for it, someone who can really make sure that it's getting done, so that you and I can focus on, what we're accountable for and what we should be responsible for. The same thing's happening in these firms right now. There's folks that are taking responsibility for things they shouldn't. And it might be because they're stuck because they haven't built succession or a plan to move into that accountable seat or onto the sidelines as a coach. Or it might be because they're thinking, I just need to fill this with a CPA. So I've been running on a diatribe here for about 5 minutes now, so I'm going to shut for a second.
My philosophy has always been trying to work myself out of a job or replace myself with something, whether you delete that task or you delegate it or you hire somebody or whatever. There's multiple ways to remove yourself from a job, but if you can continuously do that, you can always move on to higher levels of work. To your point where you eventually become a spectator. That's all, and that's everybody's dream, is to have a business run on its own. I think that's kind of the point there. So always, try to work yourself out of that job.
Train your replacement.
Yeah.
Train the person that makes you obsolete.
Right.
And so maybe that's part of the crux of this is, the training of replacements is not becoming as important as maybe it used to be. Now, I've heard excuses like, there's a generation that just won't take responsibility. They just don't understand client service. They don't understand ownership. And there's a lot of finger pointing, about, the type of worker we have in the workforce right now. And I call bullshit on that. Not to say that it's false, but I would also say that, it has to be a joint effort. Like there has to be a real concerted effort to really train your replacement, not just to how to do returns, but how to manage client relationships, how to recover when there's a mistake, how to communicate so that we're not missing conversations, how to make sure that this client is being given consistent and continuous service. Like there's some training that's missing. And they try, I know they do. I've gotten an earful, about the efforts that are being made to help them get out of what they're doing and have someone else do it for them. So, I don't challenge the effort being put behind it, but perhaps the tactics need to change. Perhaps more importantly, the communication needs to change. I used to work at a sheet metal shop. I used to run one, but I grew up in it. And the guy who owned it, he didn't own it. He didn't build it. He wasn't the first one to start this business. He was the second one. And the first guy that owned the business, the sheet metal business, he was very successful. He did really good work, and he built this sheet metal business. And he was building up this, training his replacement to take over for him one day. And my boss, the owner now, he got a phone call one morning, and it was his boss, the owner. And the owner said, "I'm not coming in today." And my owner said, "What?" I said, "I'm not coming in today. It's yours. I don't want it anymore. You go figure it out." And my boss, the owner, showed up and took on all responsibility and all accountability in the matter of a day. And he didn't have anywhere else to go with that. He didn't have a person to call and say, "What do I do? They're mad," or "How do I bid this?" Like he had to figure some shit out on his own, and he did, and he grew it to be more successful than his boss did. But I loved that story, and I don't agree with it necessarily. Like I'd prefer to be a little bit less disjointed than that. But I appreciate very much that someone clearly assigned accountability and responsibility to someone else and said, "I'm not doing it anymore. There's only you. I am removing myself and I'm going to go sit in the stands. You're on your own." Like that type of communication needs to happen in a lot of aspects of CPA firms and accountants practices. Like they need to be clear that I'm out. I'm done. I'm not going to serve this client anymore. This is yours. I'm not going to do this, fill in the blank, anymore. But because we still stay involved and we still support and we still give them that crutch, we still give them that feeling or that sense of, well, I could screw it up, but he's going to help me out. Like, I don't have to worry. Like, I'm fine. I'm safe. I don't really have accountability. I might have more responsibility, but I'm really not accountable to this. I'm not even an owner. Why should I take that level of responsibility? But that communication to say, listen, like, I'm done. I'm not going to talk to that client ever again. It is now yours. If they call me, I'm not answering it. I'm going to send you the voicemail. If they send me an email, I'm going to forward it to you. You're going to respond to it. If we lose the client, it's because of you, not because of me. And that's up to you. So I think
it's a difficult thing in this profession because you are the asset to your business. Your name, your CPA, yourself, it is the asset. And if clients get too used to you doing the work and you speaking to them, it can be a difficult transition to offload some of that work to other employees.
Well, it's happened however many hundreds of thousands of times in this industry. I mean, did Price or Waterhouse, are they still serving their clients today? No, obviously not. Was Uncle Arthur Anderson, was he still serving clients, the same clients he brought in? Maybe a couple, but not all of them. I mean, like in all the firms around here with any names, rarely are those names still forward facing. Like, they were able to create the spectator spot. And that's where we're at right now. We're just having a hard time transitioning that and doing it as well as we experienced it. And most of us would say in this industry, well, I stepped up and I took responsibility and I made it so they didn't have to worry about it anymore. What was our incentive to do that? Well, get promoted, more compensation, whatever. Like, we need to recreate that right now because I'm feeling like we're stuck. And maybe it's because the boomers just haven't done a great job of transitioning, and now I'm in trouble for saying that. But maybe that's part of it. Maybe they weren't good at just training their replacement, to your point. Or maybe it's the next generation below them that's also not good at training the replacement. Or maybe it's a generation below them that's not good at accepting the responsibility of being the replacement. It doesn't matter. You can point fingers all day long and make assumptions and some sort of demographic ridicule that you could point and speak to. But the truth is, this has to be identified as what you really want to have happen with your business. If you want to get out of doing the work you're doing and doing a higher level or something different, you, to your point, need to train that replacement. And part of that is communicating that you will no longer be in the role you're in, identifying the role you're going to be in, and they will be in, and just show the path of moving through the RACI Matrix, from moving from the field to the sidelines to the stands. That's the opportunity. And it doesn't have to be done by CPAs. It can be done by project managers. It can be done by VAs. It can be done by office managers. A lot of the responsibilities that you still carry, you don't have to do. I think that's about enough of my
Good
diatribe today.
Thank you, Doug. We'll see everyone next time.
Cheers.
Thank you for watching this episode of the Practicing Accountant podcast. We hope that you learned a lot. We hope that you found some potential opportunities to spread your work around to those who should be responsible, those should be accountable, those should be consulted with, and those who should be informed. The RACI Matrix is a powerful tool, and even more powerful when you actually use it. Please like and share this episode, and also please visit us at www.thepracticingaccountant.com. Thank you for watching.